Hello and welcome to the Eclipse Evolution podcast. I'm your host, Savannah Rose Johnson. I have my furry co-host Sterling with me. I don't know why he thinks this is like a chair that can fit both of us, but I guess we'll try to make it work again today. But he just has to be with his mommy. But I'm really just grateful to connect with you today, and this podcast has been so much fun for me to make, and I just really appreciate all the feedback. And for those of you tuning in, thank you for your time, thank you for listening, and I just hope that you're able to benefit from what I have to share. And something that has been on my this might be a low-key ASMR video just with all his mouth sounds. All the sounds that you're making with your mouth right on the microphone. Oh my gosh. You're so silly. Anyways, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so this episode I wanted to kind of start just touching upon imposter syndrome because it's something that I've struggled with in the past and that I'm struggling with today. It's something that I feel like it's not that it's a myth, but it almost just feels like everyone has it. And for those who don't have it, I really wonder if they've probably felt it at some other point in their life. And for me, kind of where my imposter syndrome comes up is in being a life coach. And just with all honesty, I think being a part of a group practice for a while, I was one of the only ones. It definitely kind of felt like at times like I was a fish out of water. Like I was surrounded by all these extremely experienced and qualified, amazing professionals. And then here I am just doing my thing. But not to say that like my experience is invaluable, and that's something I've really had to learn and embrace. And now that I've been able to help some other people become life coaches, it's just become more and more clear to me how everybody has something to offer, whether they realize it or not. And I think too, with being 25 years old in a field that experience is really valuable, life experience is really valuable, that can sometimes contribute to it as well, because whether I was at conferences or even meeting with clients who are like twice my age, I kind of worried like, well, what do I know? Like, I've only been doing this a handful of years. I'm 25. Like, why am I here? But it just kind of helped me to realize, even with like my clients who are 2-3 times my age, that everyone's perspective is valuable. Everyone's point of view is different. And just if we can challenge each other to start seeing things in a different light, that is success. That is challenging us at the end of the day. And okay, bye. And so with that being said, even if you're younger, even if you're the youngest person in the room, just know there's so much value behind that, because you get to offer a fresh perspective. You get to offer the voice of the next generation. And that, I think, really deserves to be given more credit. And I think something too that's kind of contributed to my recent feelings of imposter syndrome is really launching my own independent business and representing myself. And as much as like that's just so great for me, and like I wouldn't change anything about it, it's also been like a huge illumination on like me and what I'm doing and how I want to show up in the world, and just trying to be really intentional about remaining authentic, because I think the way that imposter syndrome has influenced me in the past is trying to show up as a different version of me, or a version of myself I was trying to be, or what I thought people wanted. And it just was making me really sad. And now that I'm really learning to embrace and love myself for who I am. I'm really able to see all the different things that make me unique and how there's just so much value behind that, and really trying to practice what I preach in some ways when it comes to like what I share with my clients and how I'm always hyping them up and I can see them, all their potential, and like, why can't I see myself that way? And so now I really feel like I can, and it's just been such a liberating experience. But even so, like where I still feel some imposter syndrome showing up is like recently, getting like my little blue check mark on Instagram, like being verified on Instagram. It just cracks me up because I didn't like know that was gonna happen. I wasn't like trying to make that happen. I think I applied for verification like a year ago, but I was trying to verify my business and it got rejected. So I was like, okay, maybe when my business is bigger, I'll try again. But I just kind of forgot about it. And it's funny because I was actually thinking about deleting my Instagram recently because I just like barely post on there until I started making this podcast. I was like, why do I even like have this account? But I decided to keep it and use it as like a platform for my business more. And then I just logged on one day and it was like, hey, we need you to verify your identity. And I was like, okay, I guess this is like a new security thing. And then bam, my check mark was there. And I'm like, what? Me? I don't know. It's just so weird for me because I still feel like the same person, but it's just been interesting how like people have been like congratulating me on it, which I appreciate, but I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, why are you congratulating me? Or even just like random people like coming out of the dust that I haven't talked to in forever, being like, hey, and I'm like, okay, hi. It's just been really interesting. And even just like some of the people that I follow that aren't verified but have like hundreds of thousands of followers, I'm like, how come they deserve that check mark more than me? Like, come on, what are you doing? Because I only have like a couple hundred. So it's just been weird. But, you know, I try to take it as a sign, just from God, from the universe, like, hey, you're doing something right. Like, you've been showing up as yourself. So here you go. Like, here's this reward. So I'm trying to think of it that way, but it definitely feels kind of weird. And I think too, it has been really cathartic for me in a lot of ways to receive that blue check mark, like verifying my identity as a life coach. Because, I mean, just to be honest, like, it hasn't been something that has been celebrated like by other people in some ways. Like, not only was I dealing with this, my own pressure and self-criticism, just given my perfectionist tendencies, and just being surrounded by really amazing professionals, but also too just dealing with like some bullying, I would say, from other people in the field, like because I'm a life coach, and like I just know one person in particular just would take like every opportunity that they could to like patronize isn't the word that I want to use, but just to kind of tear down the fact, like just tear down the life coaching field in general, and to just shine a light on what they perceived as flaws and trying to really, yeah, I guess like almost degrade the field and those who are in the life coaching field. And it's very much like a on their high horse kind of thing, where it's like, well, I'm a this, and life coach is like, oh, and it was just really, I feel like it was really egotistical and just not helpful for anyone. I'm like, okay, like if that's how you feel, like sure, but don't like put that on me. And it would just be really awkward in some environments when I was around them, and just how they would, it just seemed Like it felt to me like they would just take any opportunity they could to point out the fact that I was a life coach, to kind of isolate me from others, and then also to just tear down again, like me being a life coach or the field of life coaching. And it just really was so hurtful and so confusing because this person was supposed to have been like a mentor. They're a superior to me in the field. And it just was really confusing because it just felt like my worth and how I showed up was as like a second class citizen to them. And I just didn't understand why, because all the other feedback I was getting from my clients, from other professionals, was overwhelmingly positive. And even like my track record with retention and everything was really great. So I just didn't understand, like, where was this criticism coming from? Like, why? But I just kind of had to realize, like, that that's them. They're doing it for whatever reasons. I don't know. I don't need to spend any energy trying to figure it out, but I don't need to pick it up. And there's just something really cathartic and validating. It's almost embarrassing to say about getting that blue check mark, because it was like, and I just feel so silly with like how emotional I'm being because of it, because it's just Instagram. It's just a blue check. Like, it's really not that huge of a deal, but for me, it was like, wow, like what I'm doing is real. And I felt very seen by the internet, I guess. And it made me feel really proud of myself for kind of working through that fear, working through that criticism that I was faced with, like working through that bullying and not caring about it anymore, and deciding to show up as myself and embrace that and start doing public events as myself, as my brand, as a life coach. And I'm so grateful that I didn't let that person and their negativity weigh on me and contribute to that imposter syndrome. And even though like it still feels kind of weird, well, I should say I'm not letting them anymore. I did for a while, I'm not gonna lie. It really, really tore me up. But now I really can see more so behind like that behavior, and how I think, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, like, people can only make you feel inferior with your consent. And at that time I was consenting, I was taking it as the truth. But now I'm like, no, I don't know. That's not right. That's not how we treat people, and that's not true. Like, all their points that they would make just weren't true. And I have so much respect for other coaches in the field and need them, rely on them to help me stay as my best self. And being able to see people I know like start becoming life coaches and having some sort of influence on that, or helping guide them towards that path, like, it's so special to me. And so there's kind of another quote. I forget who says it, but it's that quote that's like, if you don't feel like you fit in this world, it's because you were meant to create the next one, or the new world. Very Pluto and Aquarius vibes that we're going through right now. But that's really how it feels for me, where I do feel like I'm one of the, I mean, life coaching's been around for a while, but I do feel like, at least in my community, I'm one of the newer ones, one of the new kids on the block, and really starting to make that something that's my own and something that's unique to me as well. And I'm excited to see where that goes. And I kind of have realized, like, maybe some of that imposter syndrome before was really just because I wasn't supposed to belong. I wasn't supposed to do what everyone else was doing. I wasn't supposed to follow those formulas. And I'm glad that I didn't. And I'm really grateful for where I'm at right now. And again, like, just really excited to see where it goes. And it just feels so good to show up as me. And I think these feelings that are coming up for me right now, they're not sad tears. It's just, I feel good, like, knowing that that's what I deserve. Like, I deserve to show up as myself. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm not better or worse than anyone. No one is. We're all just doing our own thing. And our own thing there's such value in that unique perspective again. And so I guess I just wanted to leave you with this message of, if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, to one, notice if some of that feeling of not being good enough, or like you don't belong, is that influenced by someone else? Like, is someone telling you that? And if so, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. They don't deserve to have that power over you, because that's just letting them be right, letting them win. And that kind of negativity does not deserve to win. It can't. It won't. And so I encourage you to kind of take a look and see if that influence is there. And then if not, I guess kind of starting to get curious about the relationship you have with yourself, and starting to kind of ask, like, if you're allowing yourself to show up in the world as your authentic self. Do you have a fear of being seen and being rejected for your authentic self? Because no one can reject us unless we reject ourselves. Because if someone says something to us and we take it on, it's because we believe it to be true. And so knowing that, like, you yourself are good enough, no one can change that. Nothing can change that. And so I think too, with that as well, like, getting curious about your expectations as far as what will it feel like to not have that imposter syndrome. Will you feel super confident? Will you feel like, what will that look like if you didn't have that feeling going on? And starting to kind of get curious about, like, can that happen now? Like, what is that? Like, why is that imposter syndrome in the way? Like, what is it doing for you? Is it trying to protect you, maybe? But also knowing that, like, that fear does not, again, deserve to have power over you. And when we move through that fear, when we move through the criticisms of others, and we keep showing up as ourselves, it feels so good. It feels so good. And it's really special. It's really special. And I just really want you to be able to feel this way. And even though sometimes it can feel a little weird or a little silly, none of us have it all figured out. And I think that's the liberating thing, is to not expect yourself to always have it all figured out, or to know exactly what to do, or to feel like you ever know everything. I think there's another quote that's like, true wisdom is knowing that you don't, like, know anything at all, or something. And so that's been, like, something I've been embracing a lot lately as I've started on this new path. It's like, I don't know what's going on, but you know what? That's okay. I think I just wanted to unfold how it's meant to unfold. And so with that, I just hope that this has brought you some encouragement to embrace who you are. Know that imposter syndrome is very normal, especially like when you're starting out as like a new person in the field, kind of getting your bearings, but also not to let that stop you from growing into who you're meant to be, and knowing that even as a fresh person, first day, you have value, and that because you're offering a new point of view, it's innovative and it's fresh, and that is valuable in and of itself. So with that, I hope that you can be gentle on yourself today, be kind to yourself and others, and as always, keep taking care of you. So it was a pleasure connecting with you today, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.